Simin, we're going to start a new inyan, Simin Shin Tes Vav. There is an Issur of making a boina. One of the Lamites Malachas is on Shabbos, you're not allowed to build. There is a tulda of boina. Boina is an Av Malacha. It was in the Mishkan, they built the Mishkan, right? Boina is one of the Lamites Malachas. Heish Tov Kuvav. Heish Tov Kuvav. A tulda of boina is making an oil kva. You make a permanent oil to protect you, is a tulda boina, meaning there's actual binyan, building,
like stone in the
in the Beis HaMikdash, that was in the Mishkan. Then there's tulda. Tulda is also midiraisa. It's just, there's aves, and it's told lamites aves, but their fathers have children, meaning we can learn out from the lamites malachas things are similar. Even if this act wasn't actually done in the Mishkan, but if it's very similar to what was done in the Mishkan, then it can be called a tulda. And Chazal and the Gemara always are clarifying whether something could be in the status of a tulda or not. So even though it wasn't actually in the Mishkan, for example, when it comes to cooking, in the Mishkan there was cooking. However, there's something called, if someone takes let's say a hot piece of metal that was heated up by fire, and you crack an egg on it. And now it's not on the fire anymore. You remove it away from the fire, but it's so hot, you crack an egg on it, and it becomes scrambled eggs. So you cook the egg.
But you didn't do that.
So was that done in the Mishkan? No, there was no such a thing done in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, everything was done with fire. But since this sheet of metal is heated up by fire, it's called a tulda of bishul, and therefore you're also chayiv min haTorah. Just this wasn't actually in the Mishkan, but it's similar.
If it's a warm, just not so hot that it could boil.
If it's not yatzei ledas boy, that your hand will remove, it's not a problem. Now, similar over here, we have the Av Malacha Boina that was in the Mishkan. Then we have creating an oil. Someone puts something on top of himself to protect himself from the sun or the rain. If he makes it in a kavua, it's permanent, a permanent structure, an oil kava, then he's also chayav because of boina. Now Chazal said, since an oil kava is a tulda of boina, you're chayav min haTorah, we are going to make a gzeira. You shouldn't even make an oil aray, a temporary oil, because you can easily come to making an oil kva, which is a tulda boina. So we asur an oil aray, temporary. So here we're going to learn what does it mean, an oil aray, and what heterim do you have when you could make an oil aray. And later on we'll discuss mechitzas, making mechitzas on Shabbos, different type of mechitzas. Oil's on top of you, mechitzas on the side. Most mechitzas are mutter, types of mechitzas, but there is one type which is very similar to an oil aray, and therefore it also falls into the gezeira of Chazal that we answer this type of mechitza because it's like an oil aray, which is a gezeira with the rabbanon. You might come to make an oil kva, which is told up by. Let's take a look. Shin tezvav. Dvarim ha'asurim mishum oil b'Shabbos u'boi chaf sifim. There's 20 sifim in this siman. All aleph. Also last is oil. Ta'hainu. What does it mean? An oil gag, a roof. Hamayil olav. Over you, lahagim meizadavar, to protect you from something, kegoyim min hachamer, from the sun, min haksham meizadavach, or something else. Afiluhu aray. What does it mean aray? Sheni also the sky, it's not made to last. Afilu ein mechitzas tachtav. Even if there are no mechitzas underneath the oil, it's just underneath poles underneath it, but not walls underneath it. Kegoyim shepoides machzelas, you spread out a mat al gabidala kudusin on top 4 poles. So it doesn't actually have mechitzas underneath it. Still in all, after bikain, it has a status of an oil. Kivan sha'asi kidei lahayo lahagin, has an oil gomer. Va'asruhu chachamim, it's an Issur from chachamim. Afal pishu aray, gezeira mishum oil kva. A gezeira because you might come to make an oil kva. which is Issur mitzad atuldas baina at atulda baina. Okay?
I used
Now-
to do the Rebbe Sukkah, they used to have like a shlach. I used to take it on if it's a oil.
Mitzvah Shem, we're going to see. We're going to see about that. If something is made that way, we'll see in Mitzvah Shem soon. You'll see also over here some Tatum. In Siv Beis, Chazal, when they answered an oil array, they didn't answer in all situations. They said, if the oil array is already been made before Shabbos, you're allowed to add on to it to make it larger. As long as it was made before Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, you can make it bigger. What does it mean, an oil array before Shabbos? As long as a tefach open, you have a tefach over you. If it's one tefach, I'm allowed on Shabbos to be moisif and to be mashach as long as I want. Because it doesn't seem to be a new oil array. I'm just continuing what existed before Shabbos.
They still has to have a tefach.
But it has to have a tefach open before Shabbos. Then I'm allowed to be moisif on it and add on more on Shabbos. Doesn't fall into the category of creating an oil array because I'm not creating it. It pre-existed. I'm just adding on to it and being moisif. Toisefes oil is mutter. Adding on to oil is mutter.
But buena is buena. What's the difference if a buena a little bit? Moisif al bnia, or I do if a buena, not allowed to. What's the difference if a moisif al bnia, or I understand?
It's a real binyan, it's a real binyan. But an oil array is not binyan. Oil array is only
It's a
gzeira.
It's a
only
tulda
gzeira.
binyan.
No, oil kva.
Oh.
Permanent oil is told us boina. Now,
This is
oil
not
array is only a gzeiras chachamim. Now, chacham are only geyser when a person feels like afim creating an oil. But if you don't feel like you're creating oil, I feel like the oil's here already. I'm just stretching it out more, pulling out the mat, unrolling it more and more. So I don't feel like I made an oil on Shabbos. So chacham were worried that you might come to feel if you could do this, you could do that. But in this case, I don't really feel like I created the oil. The oil was already partially open before Shabbos. Why this is the issue with umbrellas and different things that Hashem will come to discuss.
So, one second, so how is it possible? So we're talking about schach over here. How could you
Like
make
a mat, let's say.
a mat with the tefach open?
And then you could open it more. And let's say it's on top of you. It's only open one tefach. You could unroll the rest.
Oh, I see.
Or you could add to it, even if it's not unrollable. You could add other pieces to it.
For example, it's already rolled. There are 4 poles. Can you add another 2 poles and roll more?
Yeah.
And you're allowed to add poles as well.
Yeah. Now that he's going to say soon that even if there would be mechitzas under this oil, which makes it look more of a real oil, in this case it's still mutter. As long as the tefach open before Shabbos, it's mutter. Beis le'asur al'asei se betchila b'Shabbos al mahaya oil ari osim b'oid yoim mutter l'heisiv ala b'Shabbos. You're allowed to add on Shabbos. Kegoyinim hoisa machzelas prus b'oid yoim kidei tefach. The mat was open, the size of a tefach. Shizo sheer liyisnik oil. What's a tefach? That is the minimum amount of what an oil is. Then muter leparsa kula l'macher. I can open it up totally tomorrow, and not only that, I can add other mats that were not included. If I had one mat, you can open up that mat and then add more mats. Sha'koil einiela teisefes la'oil tafach asimes. But it's all looked at as just an addition to the oil that was opened yesterday. Even if there are mechitzas underneath it, not just poles, there's actual walls, it's still okay to do it if it's open a tefach erev Shabbos. Now, the tefach shama, when Chazal said a tefach is mutter, once it's open a tefach, it's chutz min hakricha. You can't count up the part that's rolled up. You don't look at the rolled up mat. You look at when you unroll a tefach from it. Tefach shamru chutz min hakricha, besides for the rolled up part. Daina shemartzelas kula, avshi krucha menasuna shemaydim. If you have a mat sitting on top of the poles, so I say, look, I have a mat, and the width of the mat is a tefach. So why can I add more? He said, no. V'yesh ba'oivi igul krichas tefach, and it's the thickness of the circle of the mat as a tefach. V'yoyser more. Afal b'kein, it's not going to be good. Tzarech sheyeh yoytz mimenu k'tei tefach parus la'oil. You need a tefach opened up. Peshasav ve'igul, that which is around, wrapped around, and you need a oil cut. Does not at all look like an oil. So we cannot say you're adding to the oil. You're creating an oil. That's a rolled up mat. It's not an oil. No one sits under a rolled up mat.
Right.
Now, up until now, these two sifim, we deal with oil out of it. Now we're going to move on to mechitzas. The next few sifim are going to all discuss mechitzas. Now, we're going to say like this. Let's start off the sif. Sif Gimel. Kol zeh ba'oil. All of this above is by oil shu gag. Avol muter las is mechitzas aray l'chatchil b'Shabbos. Mechitza is mutter to make on Shabbos. It's only an oil aray which is aser. But a mechitza you're allowed to make on Shabbos.
What's the difference, okay?
Now, he's going to explain that there's different levels of mechitzas.
What's the difference if I'm covering myself from the top or covering from the side? Here I'm building and here I'm building. What's the difference? Why this doesn't call a building?
Here it protects you from the sun and
from the above, and here is from the side. What's the difference?
Because it doesn't protect you anyhow.
Well, yeah, same thing.
The walls
I'm
don't
sitting here,
protect you.
the sun coming to me, so I'm building a mechitza.
Right. That, listen. Let's go like this.
If it's tall enough. Yes.
I'll tell you like this. Let's talk outside. There are four types of mechitzas that we're going to see soon. 3 of them are mutter. Only one extreme case, the 4th case, such a mechitza is aser. So that's why in Sif Gimel he says mechitza is mutter, because there's only one case where mechitza is aser. In most cases, mechitza is mutter. Let's go through the different levels of mechitza. What do you need mechitza for? The lowest level of mechitza, that's hashad, it's mutter, which has no similarity to an oil, is a mechitza which you only use for privacy purposes. Let's say I want to eat outside, I don't want anyone to see me. So I spread curtains around. I make a mechitza. So, or in shul. You want to put up a mechitza in shul? Let's say there's a shear and you want to put up a mechitza. So there's no, this mechitza is for sure not an issue. Because the mechitza doesn't do anything. The mechitza is not stopping anything. It's not serving the purpose.
It's not building anything.
Not building. A building is here to create.
To stay.
Not only to stay. It's to protect you. It's not really to protect you. It's just you want to have a little privacy. You put up a mechitza. Then you have another level of mechitza, a little higher, which is closer to an oil, where you're using it to protect you from cold or from the sun. But again, it's from the side. It's not on top. So we're going to see that even this is mutter, but this one is already not the same as private. It's more of a svara to say it will be aser, but it's also mutter. These both are mutter. Going up the ladder, so that's 2 levels. There's a 3rd level. There is sometimes a mechitza which is matter and issur. It's matter me something. For example, there is halacha aser l'shamesh mitasei b'fnei oir haner. One is not allowed to mishamesh his mita in front of a candle. So what happens? It's an issur. So what happens on Shabbos? Someone there's a candle in the room. You lit a candle. There's a light. So I want to put a mechitza in front of the light. Put up a mechitza in front of the lamp. So when I put up that mechitza, it's being matir and issur. It's removing an issur. Still in all, this mechitza is also mutter to make on Shabbos. There's a 4th level mechitza, which this is going to be aser because it's the most substantial mechitza, and therefore it has the most comparison to the concept of an oil. And that is like this. What about when, let's say, a sukkah? A sukkah needs to have at least 3 walls to be kosher. Our minig is to make 4 walls, but
2 and a tefach is enough.
2 and a little bit is enough. So you have 3 mechitzas is enough. So when I put on the 3rd wall of the sukkah, I'm actually creating a sukkah. I now have a sukkah. This mechitza is really accomplishing something. Another example, Shabbos. Shabbos, one is not allowed to carry in a Rishus HaRabim, even in a Carmelis, only allowed to carry in a Rishus HaYachid. So, Rishus HaYachid, again, one could put up mechitzas to create a Rishus HaYachid, put up 4 mechitzas. Putting up these mechitzas, the mechitza actually accomplishes something because it allows you to carry. Now, the difference between this and the ner, or the candle, is like this. These 2 cases of Sukkah and Shabbos, the Mechitza accomplishes something, not just that it's matter something that's Asr, it actually creates separate domains, separate Rishuyas. Until now this was a Rishus HaRabim, now it became a different domain, it's separate from everything else, it's called a Rishus HaYachid. A Sukkah, until now, this area I was not allowed to eat in, now I created a Sukkah. The Mechitza separated this area from the other areas. It's called Chiluk Rishuyas, meaning it created a new domain. When I put up a wall in front of the candle, it's just to block the candle. I don't need to create that the candle should be in a separate domain, a separate Rishus. Even if I'm using a Mechitza and theoretically it's making it like a separate room, but I don't need the Mechitza for that purpose. The Mechitza is just to block the light. So I'm just blocking the light. I'm not out here to create a separate Rishus, a separate domain. Only when I am making a Mechitza in order to create a Chiluk Rishuyas, to make this Rishus is one Rishus, and this is a separate area, and they're different areas, and they have no connection. In such a type of Mechitza is also to make on Shabbos. Now, I'll give you just one more case. We said Shabbos and Sukkah. We'll learn it inside in a minute, but and another 3rd case is, another halacha is that you're not allowed to be shamish mitasei or go to the bathroom in front of Sfarim. It's not proper. So what do? You can have 2 choices. You can either put 2 coverings on it. It's called kiss, betoich kiss. Like some people, let's say, they like to carry with them a little siddur in their pocket, a mincha ma'ariv, but they go to the bathroom a lot. They don't want to have to constantly take it out. They do a concept that's called kiss, betoich kiss. You put in a pocket within a pocket. 2 coverings. You put in a plastic bag around it, like a zipper backpack, and you put in your pocket, and your pocket covers. So you have a kiss, betoich kiss. Then it's mutter. So you have one eitzah is to take sheets and just put 2 sheets on top of it, or clothing, and cover the svarim, or cover, and then one would be allowed to go to the bathroom in that room, or to mishamish mitasa, it would be mutter. However, when I put 2 kisuyim, it has nothing to do with a mechitza. I'm just putting coverings over it. It has nothing to do with mechitza, just covering it. However, there's another method how I can be matir to be in this room with these svarim, but not by the method of 2 kisuyim. Another heter, create a mechitza. Make it these svarim are in another room. They put up a mechitza. This mechitza does not even have to cover the svarim. You could still see the svarim, but the fact is I made a mechitza which is yud tvachim high, the minimal mechitza male. I made it a real mechitza. We'll explain in a minute what does it mean a real mechitza. If I make a mechitza, I divided the room. I'm in one room and the svarim are in another room. Once you do that, you're okay. And even if you see the svarim, it's not a problem because I made it into different rooms. So it's not considered like I'm doing something inappropriate in front of svarim. Beis kisuyim works by covering it twice. I take it and I cover it twice. I take 2 sheets and I throw 2 sheets on it. It's not a mechitza. It's beis kisuyim. There's another method is I could just take 1 mechitza, put it up, and make it into separate rishos. So again, we have a 3rd example, Shabbos, Sukkah, and putting up a mechitza to divide a room. If someone wants to oisa tzrachav or meshamish mitasei, also this mechitza you're doing in order to